When the storm will stop and the noise goes down, the lights go up in the middle of town. When the streets are gone and there's no...
Hey friends,
I'm JB,
and I'm Sara.
and this is the Go Podcast.
When the storm will stop and the noise goes down.
Do you want to intro it?
Not really, but...
I mean, you can't. Normally I'm just the one that I'm jumping like, hey, what's up? But
Yo, I'm JB, and I'm in the 1990s.
I don't say yo, yo, yo.
Sometimes you do.
I've said it like once.
You say it every time.
I don't. I say,
Every
what's up,
podcast.
guys? That's what I say.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Guys.
Sup, dog?
That's not true. Guys. Not even true.
Hey guys, it's Sara and JB, and we are excited to record our second podcast of the year.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. And you said Sara and JB, which is totally fine, but it just threw me off.
Oh, because I didn't say your name first?
Yeah.
Is that like a male ego
Well, it's
thing?
like, it's
or...
the Go Podcast with JB and Sara.
I guess that's our title. We should change it to the Go Podcast with Sara and JB.
We could.
Because equality.
I'm okay with that.
I would be okay with it, but then I'd have to do the work to do the graphic again. I really
You don't trust
wanna
me
do
with that element of it.
I hate intro. Okay. Hi. I am Sara. This is JB, and we're the Go Podcast with JB and Sara.
We're recording live. Like, this is what people are gonna hear.
This is not live.
Oh, it's so live.
Do you think it's interesting that our podcast is called the Go Podcast, and all we can do is stay right now?
It's interesting.
It's interesting to me. So
Yeah, that's intriguing.
in my Bible reading, I always circle the word go, just because it's something between me and God, and I think it's important that our faith is active and all the things, and so I just circle it every time I see it, and I just laugh every time right now, because we have to stay, and I'm just like, I would love to go. I would love to go do this or that or whatever, and
I got to go to Dollar General tonight
you did.
and to Dairy Dream.
Dairy Dream. So there's this local ice cream place in my hometown called Dairy Dream that's so good, and so
Yep.
Jonathan went and got ice cream, and I feel
It was
like it's a
unplanned.
risk, like,
It's a calculated risk.
did we get the virus from that? I really hope not.
They had the good masks on, like the medical grade masks.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of bad?
Aren't those bad?
Aren't those bad? Aren't you supposed to save those for medical
I don't know.
stuff?
Probably, but it made me feel better about my ice cream.
It's true. I feel
So,
better. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was good to get out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, there's been a few days that have been warmer, so we've been able to leave the house and go for walks or whatever, and that's been great. And then there's been days where it's just been gross out. So
Yeah.
I'm
If
ready
it would
for
just
it to be
rain,
warm.
even if it's a little colder, if it would stop raining, man, that'd be nice.
Mm-hmm.
But we are cooped up. Oh, speaking of go, this is where I was going to share this. I had a Facebook memory today from I don't know, 8, 9, something years ago. And it was, we got to baptize Grace Hatcher in the ocean.
Oh, cool.
And her shirt says go in really big letters.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a Fields of Faith shirt from a long time ago, but that's cool.
I love
Shout out
that.
Grace.
Yeah, we love Grace.
Your go shirt from a long time ago.
She prophesied it.
Something like that. So anyway, we are just chilling here, still at Sarah's parents. Like many of you probably are. I hope you're staying home and not the people that are spreading germs everywhere unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm. I think the more we stay at home, the hope is that the sooner we can get out.
Yeah.
So stay home, because I went out.
Sarah, I don't know if you saw this, but I saw today. So we're recording on Monday night, the 30th.
Yep.
So I saw today that Virginia extended their stay-at-home order until June 10th.
No.
I saw June 10th trending, and I was like, please, Lord, don't. What is that?
I reject that.
And, man, I just can't
I still
wrap my mind around that.
When President Trump made the announcement that he was extending it to April 30th, I had another moment. I've had lots of moments, but I just this is hard.
Yeah.
I'm the type, let's just hold our breath and get through it. It's going to be fine. See the positive. blah, blah, blah. And then, like, when I saw April 30th, I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
you kind of had a day.
I
Like,
did.
you were off a little bit that day.
It was yesterday.
Was that yesterday?
It feels like it was 4 days ago, but that was yesterday
man.
that happened.
Days seem long. Weeks seem longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what's crazy is we're in, like, a super great situation.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're staying at my parents.
And
we
me
have
and
all
Mom
the food
have
that we
only
need.
fought a couple times, which
You guys
is
have been
great.
doing really, really
Thank
well.
you.
I'm proud of you. They have this love-hate relationship that is just fun. But anyways, it's just been really easy from the outside perspective.
Right.
We have everything we need.
Yeah, we don't have anybody in our immediate house that's in the medical field that has to be out. We're 3 of us are working from home, like doing our jobs that happen outside of the home from here. And our kids are here, and we pretty much don't have to leave the house except for groceries.
Yeah, and we don't know anyone personally that has the virus.
Yeah.
Or has struggled with that.
It started to become more real this week, hearing some people that we know having people that they know.
Yeah.
And like some celebrities, and Joe Diffie died yesterday. Pickup Man, John Deere Green. Those were some of our songs in high school.
Burnt CDs that we gave each other because
Yeah,
we were in
that
love.
was you burnt Pickup Man for me on that CD way a long time ago. Holy smokes. Well, anyway, so that's kind of where we're at right now, what we're up to.
The boys start e-learning tomorrow, so if you think of me and want to pray for me, that would be great.
Are you excited about that? Or is this
It's hard because they had 2 weeks of spring break, which is odd to me in the first place, but scheduled. So when all of this happened, they didn't miss any school, right?
And we're cool, this is perfect. We're not going to have to go any longer into the summer. This is great.
So today I kind of tried to ease them into it of you have to be functional human beings. You have to use your brains. You can't play video games all day. They haven't really played video games all day, just 80% of the day.
Today may be the closest that they've come to that.
But I try to ease them into it, and I'm looking forward to them having something to do. But I know it's going to be a lot of work. So
yeah,
and then keeping Bear, the little one, occupied and doing my job, all the things.
Yeah, Bear's going to be the challenge. I think that's just the story of our entire life.
That's just true.
Gosh.
Oh, he's going to listen to this when he's older someday and be like, hey. He probably won't.
He won't listen to it. He's like, that's dumb. You guys are dumb.
So last week when we posted our podcast for the first time, we told you guys a little bit of our story over the last year. And we are now back in Indiana. Jonathan started working for a church up here, and we wanted to share a little bit more of the details of how that came to be. So in the fall, in September, we went on a date and just kind of talked through our lives, and it felt really scary because we were like, okay, we have a house. We moved down to Georgia for a very specific reason. And then it kind of felt like everything was up in the air.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, tell me, what was going through your mind? Because I know it was going through my mind at that point, but what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I would say we probably had some pretty similar thoughts and feelings in that time. I hit the point of I was very confident that my time was ending, our time was ending at the church we were at. And we talked about that last week. And then I was like, okay, something else will work out. We're in a hotbed for churches, where we were, tons of churches. But just, it seemed like the references that we got, the places we were connected to, just none of them seemed to work out. For one reason or another.
Or they were just far enough away that we would have to move. Anyways, if we really, because that's something that's important to us, is to live in the community that we serve. We want to be in that area. And so to be 45 minutes away or even an hour away, we just knew we would have to move. And we're like, we're not going to move houses if it's just still in Georgia.
Yeah. No offense, Georgia, but
no offense.
It was hard enough to move once. Let alone a second time, and not, pretty much have to start over, because it's not like you're in a small town where you're moving from one end of town to the other. I mean, it's you're moving across town to a completely new community.
And I think part of it, like at that point, we were just very tired. Like we had moved to Georgia, we had made the investment of relationships and things like that, and for God to be closing that door felt like, okay, we're going to have to do this all again, and was just hard to understand.
Yeah. So I was kind of, the week we went on our date to kind of figure out life, it was almost like the DTR, like to define the relationship, but like define our life. But I had been challenged in staff meeting that week by our campus pastor. His question was, what's God whispering to you? You know, we talked about God's not in the earthquake and the wind and the fire, you know, all this big stuff. He comes in the whisper sometimes. A lot of times it's in the whisper. And so that was my prayer that week, was what's God whispering? And that same day I started like reading further on in that story, and this phrase, go back where you came from, stuck out. And I was like, oh crap. That was my initial thought. But I had read a phrase like that in the book of Jeremiah, I think, like, I don't know, 10, 12 years before, kind of with this idea of, I basically used it to try to get us to go back to the college that we started at.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And I didn't feel like it was like a divine word from God. It was like, hey, wait, I think I can connect this.
I think that's an important thing. As we grow in our faith, we see times where, you know, a scripture we pulled out that felt self-serving at the time, as to where we see scripture sometimes where it's not really what we want, or it doesn't seem logical. I think that's what I'm trying to say, that you should go forward in that way, but yet you know that it's from God. And I think that we fine-tune that and we figure that out as we go, of how to read scripture in a way to really hear what God has to say to us. Because you can use scripture in any way you want. You really can. But when it's under the authority of the Holy Spirit, it's a different thing. And I think that's what you're describing, of like, this felt like it was from God. Yeah. The one previously, like, I just wanted to go back there. Like, I loved being there for school at Olivet, and like, that's where I wanted to be. Now, being removed from that, I can see, like, that wasn't where we were supposed to be. Like, God had a very specific plan for us, and you know, we even tried to make Olivet work, and it just didn't. So I was like praying over that. I didn't bring that home to you. I didn't tell you that. So jumping back to our situation last fall. When you were hearing from God that maybe we should be going back to from where we came. And didn't come home and share that with me. Why? I mean, I know why, but why?
I didn't share it with you because I wanted it to be that God spoke to both of us, or God led us both separately, so that we could come together and kind of affirm that together. And so I was like, well, I'll pray on it. You know, if it's not of God, it'll go away. And so I was like, that was on Monday, and then Saturday we had our date. And so we went out, really nice Greek restaurant. It was really good. We sat on the patio, and we just like started talking. Well, Sarah started talking, and I stayed really quiet that night.
I was so frustrated with you because I was like, here we like stopped the conversation we were having early that morning to have an intentional conversation on our date. And I had spent the afternoon in prayer and reaching out to my big sister for help and everything, and talking through it. And I felt like God had spoke to me in a very clear way. And I hate when he does that, because then I can't like fumble around with what he said and like kind of make up what I want. But very clearly spoke to me. And so I go to dinner and I'm sharing with you like, hey, this is what I think God is saying. I think he's saying that I need to just like unclench my fists and just let this go. Yes, I love my job. Yes, I love our house down there, but like, I can't cling to these things. That's not what we signed up for when we got married. Like, we decided to follow Jesus and to serve him in ministry. And so I'm like pouring my heart out in that way, and Jonathan's just being quiet.
I'm like,
nodding.
Yeah.
I'm getting mad because I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I feel like I'm like releasing control and like really, really wrestling with this, but being obedient, and you're just sitting there.
Yeah. And at that point, I didn't want to just jump on, you're sharing this with me. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like it's really easy. Like I see that leading small groups all the time where, somebody will share something, hey, how was your week? Oh, it was all right. It was hard because we had testing. And then the next person will be like, yeah, same as him. And the next one's like, yeah, same. Like, so I didn't want that to be our like big monumental conversation. But I didn't want to like push back against what you were feeling either, because I knew I was feeling the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So then we finished up, we went home, and then the next morning I couldn't not tell you. So I did my devotions, and then I shared with you, hey, like, this is what I may have even showed you my journal. Like, this is what I like journaled last week. And so then we were like, okay, like, we know God's revealing that to us. We have to like physically make this start to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If that's going to be where he's leading us, then we've got to put our hold up our end. We've got to do work to actually start that process of heading back to where we came from.
Mm-hmm. And that was the beginning of knocking on doors.
Yeah. And we shared a little bit about that last week. We basically, we had a friend who has a church, and some friends of ours have a relative at that church. And so word got back. And so we started a conversation with that church. And, I was like looking every day, who's posting jobs and what jobs are available, and just praying like, God, please just open the right doors. And so then about middle of September, I saw that County Line, the church we were at, had 2 part-time worship pastor positions open. And so I sent the youth pastor there, Dane, sent him an email because we had a prior connection from being in Fort Wayne, and it's like, hey man, not sure if you even remember who I am, but this is my situation. We moved down here. We're on our way out at the church we're at. Kind of looking to potentially be back in the area. I really respect County Line. Know a lot about it.
I don't think you told me when you reached out, or maybe you did just mention it, and I was just like, okay, like, you are definitely not going to be a worship pastor, so yeah. I don't know what you're...
And so I told him, I said, hey, I see you have 2 part-time worship pastor positions open. I'm not interested in either of those, but...
Good lead-in. Yeah. Really good.
Here's my resume. If there's any, transition happening within the organization, I would be up for a conversation. And so he's like, all right, cool, thanks. Appreciate it. I'm sorry about your situation. And I think maybe in that conversation he asked if I was interested in adult ministry or student ministry. And I was like, well, my heart's definitely still student ministry. And then didn't hear from him for a couple days. And then I get this long email from him. And basically he says, okay, here's what I couldn't tell you 2 days ago, but it's been cleared with the right people. He said, unbeknownst to anybody, I am in the process of transitioning out of high school position and am moving within the church to a different position, leading some more adult ministry and overseeing students and kids. And so the timing of your email is incredible. He said, my wife and I got to talk about it, and even if nothing works out with this, the timing of your email for us was like God saying, hey, trust me, I'm going to provide the right person. Mm-hmm. And so I get this email response. I remember I can show you the exact place I was sitting at, and was just floored and was like, holy crap, God, are you moving us back to Fort Wayne? Like, to literally where we just moved from. Mm-hmm. And I almost couldn't believe it. And so I think I may have waited like a couple hours and then like called you and said, hey, I got this email. And so of course I responded back, and I was like, I think I may have waited a little bit so I didn't look like super desperate.
Don't want your desperate to show.
Yeah,
I got that.
And I was like, I'm for sure interested. Like, let's start some conversations. And at that point, they had a timeline set that would have
Was
put us.
not gonna work well. Yeah.
It wasn't, but it was very appealing for us.
Yeah, that's true. Because the original thought was that you would start in June. That
Yeah.
they would like start interviewing and all of that around the February timeframe, and then have somebody on board in June. And so for us, we knew that your job was going to be done at the end of October. And so for me, I was kind of pushing for June because I thought maybe you could do something temporary till we moved, but that would get the boys through school, and then that would give me more time at my job.
Yeah. So we just started conversations with County Line, and mostly with myself and Dane, the current high school pastor. And we were in Indiana for a wedding. Grace, who we mentioned previously, were up for her wedding, and we got to go grab coffee with Dane and his wife Angela, and had a great time. Like, really connected well with them, and then we were still like praying, God, open the right doors. We were talking to a few different churches. Pretty much had narrowed it down to like the Fort Wayne area, but we're still really unsure of where God was leading.
Well, yeah, and I think in my mind, and I just always feel like I'm kind of late getting there to reality of things, but it still didn't feel real. It felt like, no, maybe like things will just click at this church that we're at, and it'll shift, and it will all be good, and it'll be this happy story. Or it was just really hard to wrap my mind around the fact that, okay, we're in Georgia, now we're not, and then to be back in the Leo area, right? And so County Line is between Leo and Auburn, and so the Leo area is like what we had wanted to raise our kids in. Like, that's the school we wanted them to go to and all of that. And so to have that option on the table was really hard for me. It was almost like I couldn't think about it being a reality until I knew for sure.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it so bad to get that back, and to kind of get to have what I had prayed for before become a reality for us.
Yeah. And so I think we both had our hearts set there. I don't know how blatantly we talked about that like just knowing what we knew about County Line, knowing the position, knowing the area, like all of those
knowing
factors.
The timing with Dane moving out and Angela, and it being an answer to prayer. Not that we assumed it had to be us, but it just helped to remind me that God was in the story.
Yeah. But I don't think we really talked about, like, I think it was just like, well, God will open the right doors, and he'll close the wrong doors.
I think in that season there was just a lot of prayer.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much talking we did with one another about the details of things at that point.
Yeah, so we were, going through the interview process, and if you're unfamiliar with ministry, the spouse kind of carries a lot of interview weight.
I hate interviewing for your jobs.
So it's a lot of pressure on both of us. So we were in that season. I was finishing my time at 12 Stone where I was working, and I was trying to figure out what my next step was going to be. Like, even if it was bridging between two jobs. So I was like going through like substitute teaching stuff and bus driver.
That was my favorite. I kind of wanted you to deliver pizzas again.
I thought about it, man. Like, just trying to figure out something. Like, if I'm not going to have a job for 6 or 8 months, like, I got to do something. And so it came to like the end of my employment, and I was walking into basically a week off, and then the following week after that I was going down to your brother's house, to Aaron's house, and we were going to hunt and just kind of take a spiritual retreat. I told him, hey, listen, I'm going to come down, and Monday I'm just going to be in the woods from like sunrise to sunset. I will hunt for sure. Struck out, didn't get anything, but I had books I wanted to read, just time to spend with God, to pray. And
I think I kind of set that up. I think that was partly me of like, I knew you wanted to go hunting, but I was like, I think it would be awesome for you to just get away.
Yeah, you definitely pushed that. And
I think when you have young kids, you have to do that for your spouse sometimes. Like, give them permission to just peace out and go do what they need to do.
Yep. And I think we've I think we've been good about giving each other permission at times, bad about taking the permission and doing it. But it was, I mean, like a spiritual retreat, I think a lot of people crave, but don't really jump on. And so when I went down there, it was like kind of a new normal for me. I was in this weird season where I wasn't working and didn't know what my next job was going to be. But I had enough interviews. I knew that the Tuesday after that, the Tuesday of that week was a big meeting at County Line.
Where they were going to try to make some decisions or just help us see what the process would look like for us.
Yep. So I didn't tell Sara, but that week leading up to it, I kind of got to this point where I was like, you know what? I'm tired of praying vague prayers. We just prayed, God, open the door. Close the door that isn't the right fit. And it was interesting. Today we didn't really get to talk. So I haven't even told Sara this, but I was we're going through Draw the Circle by Mark Batterson. And today's was about like, don't pray vague prayers. Like if you pray vague prayers, it kind of shows a lack of faith. If you're not praying for specific things, you're never going to know if God answers your prayers or not. And so I'm thinking maybe like his books kind of influenced this decision for me. But I was like, all right, I'm going to start praying specifically. So I wrote out a list of 8 things.
And we have this joke now because you know how sometimes couples will have a spending limit. So like you can't spend more than this without discussing it with the other person. So big purchases. Well, I'm kind of in the field of you can't pray big specific prayers without like including the other person.
Without at least telling the other person.
I would like to be able to approve your prayer life. That's all I'm saying.
That's okay. Fair enough.
That's real healthy, isn't it? Now go on.
So I wrote out this list, and the first thing on the list was County Line. Like I wanted a job offer from County Line. I knew that that's where my heart was. The second thing on the list was a January start date.
That was the one that we weren't like totally on board.
Yeah, everything else I think was in agreement, but that one was we hadn't really come to a conclusion in our marriage. I was in the boat of crunching numbers and looking at finances for a long time the primary breadwinner, and like I can't make up for this gap that I'm missing for just like a 6 or 8 month window. So I think that pressure was starting to get to me, and I completely understood the June thing and I wanted that to be the way it worked.
It was just hard to see it as a reality.
Yeah.
I think on my end, just getting the boys through their school year and not moving at Christmas time and not getting boxes out because we had just moved in. And so like I have a little bit of trauma with cardboard boxes.
Yep.
In case anybody would like to know. But
yep.
Anyway, so that was kind of the thing that we weren't at odds about, but we had different perspectives that we had to work through. And now, I mean, it's March, right? So if we hadn't moved back, we would be sitting in this pandemic in Georgia.
Yeah.
Away from family and all of that. So part of that for me is like, okay, God knew where he needed us, when he needed us, and God's always right, and all those things.
Yeah. So
anyways, back to
I had my retreat. Mark Batterson talks about praying circles around things. So I literally, in my journal, wrote out these 8 prayers multiple times and just would pray over them and circle them as I was praying. And so that was kind of my 8 prayers. And so then I come back, and that Thursday I got a phone call from County Line, and it was a job offer. And I think 4 of those 8 prayers were answered just by having that phone call. A 5th one was that our boys would be excited about it, and so we got to talk to them later that day.
I'll always remember that because we pulled them. We were in our room sitting on the bed and pulled the boys in, and we're like, "Hey boys, like we want to tell you something." And
they knew that something was coming. Like they knew we were leaving 12 Stone. They knew stuff was happening.
Yep, and that was an intentional decision. We wanted them to be in prayer with us, and we got some advice from a former youth pastor, Todd Owens, who's been really significant in our lives and our faith specifically. And he was just like, allow your kids to have their faith develop and grow through this season. So we did that. So they were praying about it, and to get to tell them that we were moving home was really exciting.
Yeah. And we kind of included them. We're like, all right, we've got these two options on the table. Which one would you guys pick? You're not making the decision, but which one would you pick if you could? And they picked County Line, where we're at, and it was a really sweet moment. And getting to call our parents while we were sitting there, and I don't know, it was just
I think our parents prayed us back. I really, really do think that. But it's so sweet because, like, since we've moved back, one time Beck and I were talking. Beck's our middle son, and he's 5, and he was like, I know that God told you guys to go to Georgia, but then I think God heard us and wanted us to live our best life, so he let us move back to Indiana. It's almost like he prayed us back, which is just so cute. But God wanted him to have his best life.
I think that's a really cool story, like, of him to be able to tangibly see answered prayer.
Mm-hmm. I want our kids to have a real faith. Like, I was talking to a student tonight. We were just texting back and forth. It's actually a student turned friend now. And she just has this rare, authentic faith that I just love. And it's always a breath of fresh air to me. And in a world where I feel like there's a lot of shallow, simplistic faith, and that they don't wrestle with it. It's just kind of like, it's a category of my life. It's not my whole life. And this student has this real, authentic faith. And I'm like, oh, Lord, let me grow and cultivate that in our children. And I think even though I would love to give them just simple ride, like, these things are really cool. Yeah.
Sidebar, if you can be involved in student ministry and have your own kids around students, there's risk there. It's a little scary at times. Some of you know who I'm talking to or about.
Mark and Logan.
Mark and Logan, yeah.
And Connor.
But you get a lot of built-in role models and heroes for these kids. Mm-hmm. And what we've experienced is a lot of those are those kids that they get to be around, like you were just talking about, and even the ones that we were scared about. Mm-hmm. Like, those kids have awesome faith, and our kids have gotten to be influenced by them. Mm-hmm. And it's just cool to watch that.
It is really cool. And I think kind of pulling that into what we're going through right now with the coronavirus pandemic and being forced to stay home and all of that, this is really a time to develop that authentic faith. You know what? Am I going to follow Jesus? Am I going to believe in him even when life is scary? Or is it going to be just a faith that kind of gives me some good feelings and it's what other people do, so that's what I do? Or is this something that you're really going to step into? Because the opportunity for ministry right now is so incredible. People are scared. People need Jesus. People need to be able to go to God firsthand and not just through someone else. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot. How the people in Moses' day, so when Moses was leading them out of Egypt and they were wandering in the desert, they wanted Moses to talk to God because they were too scared to talk to God themselves. And I think that we do that. We want our pastor to talk to God for us and then tell us what we should believe or do. We want the author or whoever. And so to get to talk to God firsthand, this is the time for that. You can't go to church right now. You can go to church online, and that's really good too. But I think this is just a huge window of opportunity to meet Jesus firsthand.
Yeah. You just brought up something that I feel like I've been trying to live out but haven't consciously thought about. But, like, we have a generation of kids in our houses right now that they have the opportunity to see a really, really authentic faith in us. And like you said, like, it's not just fluff and fun. Like, I mean, we've been praying with our kids every night. God, like, crush this coronavirus. God, like, bring us out of this and let it all be to your glory that we made it out of this. And, like, those kids, kind of like the World War II generation kids that saw the Depression, and, like, they come out of that different, way different than, having a cush, easy life.
Yeah.
And so it is scary to, like, for the kids, for like, we have a 7 and a 5-year-old, and even our 3-year-old talks about the coronavirus, you know, like,
He does.
And we don't watch the news with them a whole lot, but they're aware. And it's scary to know that could terrify them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a huge opportunity for us to cultivate a faith in them that's super authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this generation is what's going to bring revival.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe through this.
Yeah. Oh, I hope so. I hope that faith isn't just an option, you know, but that it's essential to people in their lives. And I think that hardship can sometimes usher us into revival. I wish that wasn't the case. Now, I'm not saying that I think that God is doing this coronavirus to bring people to him. I think he uses these types of things for good. Like he's able to take horrible things and turn them into good. And it doesn't feel good right now. It doesn't. But I want my kids and I want the students that we lead and the people that we serve to know Jesus. And I really hope that they can do that right now. I mean, we still can have 1,000 distractions in our home. I mean, I can think of all these craft projects and Netflix shows that I could watch and whatever else. And so the fact that we've had so much eliminated from us and we're still able to distract ourselves from God, I think really highlights the problems that we have in our culture right now.
Yeah. Man, so good. Kind of along those same, you know, we've gotten so much taken from us. And I think we've we've underappreciated and undervalued the idea of meeting together for community worship. Like your Sunday morning worship service. Yeah. Your Wednesday night youth group, your Sunday night youth group.
I think before this, I kind of liked the whole online thing. Like, hey, one of our kids is sick, so I gotta stay home in my pajamas and watch
we
church.
had a season in November and December where we weren't employed at a church for the first time in 8 years. Yeah, basically our marriage, that we didn't have to go to church on Sunday morning. And we took that time to stay home and eat biscuits and gravy and watch church online and sleep in a little bit. And that was amazing. And now we're forced to do that. And it was great to eat biscuits and gravy yesterday. But I miss worshiping with people.
I do too. I love Sunday morning when you walk into church and you see 20 people's faces that you know and love, and they feel like home and they feel like family. And we're still building that and developing that at County Line, but I have the hope that that's coming. And I think that will be even stronger as we've had it taken away from us, that we will appreciate it all the more. And I hope that people linger after church service, you know, that they don't run out the door.
I keep thinking, as we're watching service, we've got the chats going during the live feeds and things like that. And can we just do a Zoom hangout after service? Where we just link everybody to a Zoom chat, and then it can just be the church lobby, and it'll be chaos, and our kids will be running around and just be nuts. But
do you think other people feel that way, or is this just our hyper extra?
I don't know.
What am I trying? How do you say extrovert in that form?
Extroversion?
I don't like it. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we're not introverts. We're not introverts. So I just wonder. I think introverts want to see people. They might not want to have they might not want to walk into church and be the one talking the whole time, but I think that they want to be.
Yeah, I did see a tweet from an introvert that was listen, I know the jokes are out there about introverts loving this, but we need real intimate human connection. And I think that's a real thing.
I think so too.
Man, and I keep hearing pastors or people talking about, whether it's Facebook posts or Twitter or just sermons, even talking about, can you imagine what it's going to be like the next time we get to worship together? And we sat last night for 20 minutes because I feel like Paul said something exactly like that, and I just had this thought in my head, and I feel like we're in a similar time where we're or a situation similar. Paul was going around from church to church, and all those missionaries in the early church, and they're man, I can't wait to worship with you guys again. And I can't wait to just be back in church with our people. I saw another tweet. Sorry, I'm going to refer to tweets a lot.
All the tweets.
But I saw a tweet that said, we're going to have 2 Easter Sundays this year. We're going to have the Easter Sunday that is on Easter Sunday that we're going to celebrate in our homes. And then we're going to really have Easter Sunday when we're all able to worship together again. Mm-hmm. And it's just, we're in a new time of ministry, a new time of being a Christian, just because of being trapped in our houses right now. And I think it'll be a new time to be a Christian once we're able to worship together.
And this is something that's so important to me and important to us. And I know we've talked about it on the podcast before, but I want people to have a faith in a relationship with Jesus that's not through someone else. And I just think that we get to do that so easily through the church, right? That we get to kind of sit in the back seat and let someone else have that connection, have that relationship. And this is like saying no more, and so I pray that people are able to open their Bibles and hear from God. And you might not feel like you are a Bible scholar and you know all the things. That doesn't matter. Don't let that intimidate you from opening God's word. Like, when you are ready to seek God and you seek him with your whole heart, you will find him. He promises us that. And so I just hope that in these desperate times that people will really search for God.
Good stuff.
We had kind of talked about the idea of hope.
Yeah.
What hope do you have currently in this situation?
I have hope that God is still supreme. He's still sovereign. And I hope that this is going to be over at some point. It looks like it's really going to take a toll. But like in our devotions with our students that we had this week, from Ecclesiastes 3, everything has a season. And so no matter if it's a good season or a bad season, it's going to come to an end and you're going to hit a different season. And right now we're kind of in a really difficult season. But it's going to end. And I think there's hope in that. And as the church, Big C church, like, we have hope that we are going to be able to gather again. And ultimately we're going to be able to be in heaven together one day. So I think you've got like the kind of the more short-term hope, and then the eternal long-term hope there. What about you?
I feel like the first thing I thought of was that I hope I don't have to make dinner every night.
Man,
which I didn't tonight.
There's been a lot more family dinners right now.
There have been, which is really great and optimistic, and also a lot of work and a lot of cleanup.
Hey, I made dinner tonight. And I even have
help right now.
I made dinner tonight.
You did, yeah.
Frozen pizza and pizza rolls.
Yeah, and my mom cleans up like every night because we're staying with them right now, so that's fantastic. But I'm just saying, like, it's nice to go out to eat. So that's my hope, that I can go out to eat again. That's what I care about right now, food.
Yeah.
I hope that it will end sooner than what it looks like it's going to end. I hope that I'm able to use this time well. I hope that I have patience and that God would give me lots of patience with e-learning.
All the patience.
But I hope that God would use this, that the pain involved with this could be productive and used for his glory, and that that people would stay safe and healthy. I got lots of hopes, and I don't know what's going to play out, but I do know that God is good.
All the time.
All the time. God is good. What is I always forget.
God is good all the time.
All the time.
All the time. God is good.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. I saw a really cool thing. John Krasinski, he had the Good News channel. Is that what it was called?
Some good news? I think it's SGN.
Good News Network. GNN? I don't know.
I think I'm right.
Something. But he did an entire 15-minute news show all focused on good news and a conversation with Steve Carell.
That was sad. I teared up.
With Steve Carell? Oh,
yes.
I did a little bit, but it was hilarious too.
It was hilarious, but it was sad.
But if you get a chance, look it up. It's on John Krasinski's Twitter.
It was sad in a good way.
There's a lot of hope in it. There's a lot of just good stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need more of that. I think it's important to acknowledge that there's terrible things happening right now. But I think you need to have some of that good news in your day to brighten it up a little bit.
I agree.
Also, we did a prayer time for healthcare workers just with our church. And it was just really cool. And I've heard of other places doing that. Like Muncie just did one at the hospital with tons of people that showed up. Pray for healthcare workers.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for what they're doing. And like as we were praying for them the other night, I like just got overwhelmed with thankfulness because I know like my friends who are in the medical field who have the biggest hearts, who are very competent. Like one of my friends, I told her, I was like, listen, if I was not feeling well, if I was sick, I would want you in charge. And she was like, probably, like a lower personality, but I would. And so I'm just really thankful for her, and I'm thankful for anybody who is putting on that mask and risking their lives to help other people and be maybe the only social support they can get right now. So thank you for that. We will be praying for you. And guys, I pray that you would go and encounter Jesus. Maybe you have to stay and encounter Jesus, but that you would do that this week, that you would make this time intentional.
Love it.
That's all we got.
Peace out.
Bye.